Alright, so look, Spider-Man 2 is my most anticipated game of 2023. And I don't think I'm alone in saying that I feel like the hype came and went, kind of like me and your mom.
Hello!
While I still love the game and all the changes they made, I don't really feel like it was enough. Now, Spider-Man 3 is probably going to be the last game we get from Insomniac in the Spider-Man series, and I feel like they really need to deliver. So as a huge fan of these games, I want to throw my 2 cents in and maybe give a developer or two some ideas on how to make Spider-Man 3 the best in this series. Heads up, some spoilers will be mentioned. With that being said, sit back, relax, and
Give me a rent.
let's get into it. So starting off, I'll preface this by saying I want a time skip. I say this because I feel like we need to see these characters aged up. For one, I want a video game adaptation of an older, wiser Peter. Now this game introduces Silk, and I feel like the logical approach would be, at least in the beginning of the game, to have Miles as like the main Spider-Man, right? And Silk as the up-and-coming one, much like Miles was in the past games. And Peter in like an advisory role, you feel me? Plus, we can literally give Peter a beard. Insomniac, you want Game of the Year? Give Peter a f***ing beard. I've never played with the original face model for Peter. I think his name is something Bubniak, but honestly, the original face model looks way better. I don't think most people would disagree with that.
Me neither.
Very demure.
But that's to say, he actually looks like a mid-20-something-year-old Spider-Man, you know? The new dude is just Tom Holland, you know? And I'm sure they did that intentionally to tie in with the movies, but this dude right here,
Who are you?
yeah, that's a fucking twink. Now, okay, so with a beard, at least we can give him an older looking face, you know, to encapsulate his change into like an older Spider-Man. And I mean, you probably think I'm joking, but like genuinely, if we're going to be introducing Green Goblin, you know, Peter's most evil villain probably, we need to set the tone immediately. We have to set this tone of like, okay, this game is going to be way more of a mature story, higher stakes. I don't know, Peter needs the beard. He needs the beard. And I don't know, this is such like a small thing, I guess, but I feel like it matters if we're going to set the tone immediately, you know? But with that being said, switching over to Miles, I feel like I want a time skip for him especially because I feel like he needs to grow up. And that's probably wild as hell to say considering dude's dad just died, but I feel like that made Miles grow up. Okay, that didn't make Spider-Man grow up, you know, Miles Spider-Man grow up. And this is a little side rant, I guess, going off of this point, but I feel like when people are like, oh, they nerfed Peter, whatever,
You stupid.
they made Miles look stronger. Peter is at a point in his Spider-Man career where he's tired, and if you listen to him and his dialogue, it goes by kind of quick, but like he's telling himself he's tired as shit.
I'm tired of this, Grandpa.
That's too damn much.
He's been Spider-Man for what, 6-8 years, I want to say. So it's like Miles hasn't gotten there yet. He's nowhere near that, near the end of this game, you know, when he takes over as main Spider-Man. So I'm not saying I want Miles to reach that point, but I want him to start approaching it. I want him to see why Peter is so tired, you know? So with the time skip, I feel like we can have Miles start to approach Peter's mentality. Maybe not get there fully, but like start to understand why he's so tired. And this is probably just a writing issue as a whole, but I feel like Miles' dialogue in particular can be kind of cringy. Peter's can too, don't get me wrong, but I feel like coming out of Miles' mouth it's very hard to sit through sometimes. So maybe if we can age him up, give him the experience of fighting enemies that kick his ass all the fucking time, we can get some more realistic dialogue out of both of them, you know? And also, side note, I don't want to start roasting the fuck out of Miles, but like, can we please give bro a better hairstyle than this bullshit? Look, dog, look, this right here is just fucking tacky, and it pisses me off because I saw some concept art of like his hair. And yet they chose this ass haircut. This Killmonger has got to go. Anyway, let's pivot to Silk. Now, Silk's a character most people don't know about. I didn't know about her, honestly, until this game, really. I knew of her, but not about her, you know? But with Silk, there's some things we cannot adapt. Obviously, if you know, you know. I'm not going to talk about it here. Peter would catch a case. But no, Insomniac has a chance to, like, really shape how a whole generation sees Silk as a character. So getting her right is extremely important. Now, digging beyond the surface of her being like another Spider-Woman, she's Korean American. So I think it would be really cool if we can incorporate her speaking Korean into her speech. you know, or just, you know, random bits of like Korean culture, dialogue, what have you. Another big step for differentiating her between Miles and Peter is her webbing. Now her webbing is actually organic, something the other two obviously don't have, and it comes from her fingertips, not her wrists. So it'd be really cool if we got new animations to show that off. That'd be really cool. But also in the comics, she's very much like Peter with a few key differences. And with this game in particular, we need to show and harp on those differences, which leads me into my next point.
Is that a knife? Is that a real knife? Yes.
Spider-Man 2's combat was greatly improved from the first game. It was punchier, it was snappier, you know, made for a really fun experience. However, with Spider-Man 3, we have to make these characters stand apart from each other because there's 3 fucking people now, right? So how do we do that? Well, we take inspiration from... And alright, listen, hear me out. Don't click off the video, hear me out. Now, Sonic Heroes is a game where you play 3 people essentially, and you were split up into speed, strength, and flight. Now, obviously nobody's flying around in this game, so we'll switch that for stealth. But with that being said, we'll look at Silk again. Now, Silk in the comics is fast. She's very much faster than Peter, you know? So my idea for her combat style would be making her almost play like a speedster. So I mean, how do I propose that?
Please.
But no, we make her combat almost like a Red Dead Redemption Deadeye mechanic, right? So like maybe when she's fighting, we can fill up a bar and hit like, I don't know, the triggers or like the sticks or whatever, and it goes into a mode where it's like slow motion. You can start tagging all your enemies and you release it, and then like really fast she goes around and KOs everyone around her. We can also just make her combat much more faster in general. You know, I'm thinking with her claws, because Silk does have claws actually, we can make her play almost like Catwoman from the Batman Arkham games.
Oh my god, he on X Games mode.
And also, if I recall from those games, Catwoman had much less health than Batman. So maybe, and I don't know how balanced this would be, but we could give Silk a smaller health bar. But also, that would balance out with her Silk Sense, which is a stronger form of Peter's Spider Sense. So maybe we nerf her health, but we give her a bigger window of opportunity to dodge attacks. And like I said, Silk Sense allows her to see people coming even quicker. And there's a joke there, but I'm way too mature to make it. Alright, now switching over to Miles, I feel like we need to make him into the stealth guy. Now, a change I want to see from Miles in particular is making his invisibility infinite. That might be a little overpowered, but I'm purely going on the cool factor. And I think invisibility is cool as hell, but his doesn't last very long at all. Like, I'll be invisible and it runs out before I know it, and it's like I'm fighting, then this fucking stops, and it's like, nigga, did you know that I can see you? And I mean, if we can do that, honestly, this would eliminate really any need for like the MJ missions, right? Save for if he's unavailable. But if we need to gather intel or whatever, we can just play as Miles and do so, you know? But no, I want stealth to play a bigger role in combat for Miles. If I recall, he had like a handful of takedowns that used his invisibility, and they were cool, but I feel like we need a bit more. So one of my biggest pet peeves with this game is how similar the two play when they're fighting. So a way to alleviate that would be, we could give Miles like a combo, or like a very common combo where his invisibility is in play. You know, maybe as we're punching, he'll go invisible and surprise whatever enemy is targeted. Or maybe it stuns and or shocks the enemies around him when he goes invisible, you know, when doing this combo. I don't know, something like that. Something that like makes him different than Peter, you know. Now obviously Miles is
the great electric spider,
so he needs more combat that uses his venom powers. Now with that being said, honestly bro, and we can make it optional, but let's give Miles his electric sword. Insomniac, you want game of the year? Give him his electric sword. But no, I want his electric to be like intimidating, you feel me? I want enemies to kind of freak out, or at least comment on his powers when he activates them. And one thing we can implement is like a mechanic that lets us add electricity to our knuckles and our feet, letting us deal out even more damage against enemies. And if I recall, there was a mechanic in the Miles game where you could activate the venom powers like at will, and it would like show up on his body. Like imagine a system where you can fight and you fill up a bar and it activates a power, bro just goes Super Saiyan. And I mean, there was like an anime influence with some of Miles's powers. Like this is pretty much just like Kamehameha.
Daddy, chill.
But again, I feel like his combat needs to be more intimidating. And speaking of intimidating, this might be a controversial opinion, but I feel like we need to let Peter keep the symbiote.
That's not ridiculous. That's not ridiculous to say.
Because in the game, they literally say that it bonded with his blood cells. you know. And I really hope they don't pull, oh yeah, somehow we got it off, you know, type of bullshit in the next game. But that being said, Peter would be like the brawler character, you know. I want him to hit the hardest. I want his attacks to be like the most devastating, you know. And instead of being like a crutch, we can have him use the symbiote as like an extension of himself. And this all ties into the time skip, you know. So maybe we can make Peter's animations a bit more disciplined, a bit more straightforward, a bit more lax even, you know. I don't want him to fully depend on the symbiote, but like he can be in control of it, you know, kind of showing Peter's mastery over the symbiote. And personally, I think him having the symbiote would be like a really good way to make him unique, make him a unique take on Peter and Spider-Man as a whole. But those roles only really serve to highlight what each Spider person is best at, you know. If you want to do one thing as another Spider-Man or Spider person, whatever, you can do that, you know. Just know that there is a Spider person who is best at that thing. But anyway, let's pivot to talking about Traversal and the small changes we can make to make it even better. So the most apparent upgrade from Spider-Man 1 and Miles Morales is obviously the swinging. It's more fluid, it's way more fun. You have the web wings, and with the addition of the swing assistant slider, swinging in this game was easily the best it's ever been. However, there's some things I want to add in Spider-Man 3. And there's small changes, you know, this section isn't going to be very long. I feel like Spider-Man 2 kind of perfected it, but there are some things that I feel could be added. So with that being said, if anyone really did play with the swing assistant slider and they put it down to like 0, you know, there was a point where if you swung too low to the ground, you would just kind of like stop, like your animations would stop. And I mean, it makes sense. However, it felt like a punishment. With that being said, I want to give us a mechanic to where we can run on the ground instead of like stopping the animation and it being awkward, you know. And it's funny because I feel like that mechanic was in older Spider-Man games, so I feel like it wouldn't be much to bring it into this one. Another thing I feel like we really need to implement is the use of music. I know it's not really traversal related directly, but okay, with Miles specifically, right, they talk about how he's this like music nerd, he's in music production, his major is like music, whatever. Not much is done with it, and we're not going to talk about them trash ass beats. But I feel like if they gave us like a phone, which we do have in the game, why not let us listen to music? I'm talking like fully licensed music, you know. I feel like it'd be really cool to just swing around listening to music, you know. I think it'd be really cool if we could go around the city listening to fucking Kanye West or something, or huh? Oh, we can't. Oh. Well, music in general. And I don't know, I feel like there's not much to add here, you know. I feel like Spider-Man 2 kind of perfected swinging, honestly. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. So obviously some new animations could be added, but that's a given. Actually, you know what, we should add the Spider-Mobile. Because why not? Actually though, that leads me into the next set of ideas. Alright, so we didn't get any DLC for Spider-Man 2. And I'm not sure how true this is, but apparently that big leak they had a couple months ago made them change their mind or something. I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. That's just what I heard. But still, it was a huge disappointment. And I was very much waiting on Wraith. You know, as much as her character kind of annoyed me, I was waiting on something. I was waiting on more Carnage too. And side note, I don't want more symbiote stuff in Spider-Man 3. So hopefully their Venom game, I think it's supposed to happen, is still happening. Cause I don't know, the symbiote storyline, I don't feel like they handled it very well, but besides the point. I think instead of DLC that directly ties into the story, I feel like we should get like one shots. You know, for example, let's have a DLC that features the Spider-Mobile, like I said, for whatever reason, you know. I think that'd be really fun. Or like a DLC that lets us play as another Spider person. I don't know who it would be, but like it'd be a cool break from playing as the main three. And I saw this floating around some time ago, maybe a DLC that lets us play as a younger Peter. I feel like that'd be really cool. Or a DLC that features lesser known villains, or villains that, you know, like the Wall or like the Big Wheel, you feel me? I don't know, something fun. But you know what would be like a really cool idea for a DLC? I feel like if we got Screwball back, you know, like imagine if she like broke out of jail and we got to do like missions where you have to make TikToks. Like, hold on, I'm playing. Don't click off the video. I'm playing. But no, man, I'm just kind of spitballing here. I mean, shit, you guys gave me some cool ideas for DLC that you want to see. Anyway, speaking of huge disappointments, let's talk about suits.
That's a cute outfit. Did your husband give it to you?
Okay, I'll say it. A good amount of these suits suck. And while the multiple colorways idea was really cool, a good amount of those suck too. Like, for example,
No. No. No.
But you know what? For this next game, let's bring back all the suits, you know, across all the games and all the colorways, because why not? But let's add some suits that we actually want to see. Now here's some like actual honorable mentions of suits that I want to see.
Approved. Approved. Approved.
But the biggest thing I want to see, and I saw this on Reddit some time ago, is like an actual mechanic where you can customize your suit. I feel like that would alleviate a lot of the people who have problems with like the suits that are in the game. You know, you can make your own suit using components of suits that are already in the game. Give us options like changing the headpiece, you know, the webbing on the suit itself, the colorways, and the logos on the suit. Now, with that being said, I don't want these pieces to have stats attached to them, because I'll be damned if I come out the broke ass apartment Peter got looking like this. But also on suits, on canon suits, we need to get Miles to change his bullshit, because what is this?
That shit's ass, bro.
It's been like 2 years and it's kind of hilarious how hideous this suit really does look. Now, okay, and yeah, I know it was an Adidas sponsorship, but that's a whole other can of worms. But this is Adidas ass.
That shit is a 2-pack of ass.
And look, speaking of ass, can we talk about how ass it is that Spider-Man multiplayer game mode got like confirmed that it got scrapped?
Come with me.
Who the heck are you?
I just told you that. Listen.
Okay, does anyone else remember before Spider-Man 2 came out, people were speculating that they would be multiplayer? Like, yeah, we knew that wasn't happening eventually, but like it got me thinking, you know, how genuinely cool would it be if you could link up with like a friend and one was Peter and one was Miles? You know, like imagine swinging through the city alongside an actual person. That could be really cool. But now we know that was actually a possibility at some point, and I want it in the game now. You know, maybe it doesn't have to be like a mainline thing, maybe it can be like a whole other game mode, but like look at this.
Sometimes you can swing it as a lone wolf, but you're way better off with some friends.
Like, dude, when I tell you that my jaw dropped when I saw this, you know, I was happy, then I just got pissed off. Because it's just like,
how the fuck would you show me something if I couldn't have it?
Like, literally, Insomniac, if you want Game of the Year, put this in the game. And look, Insomniac, if you don't implement any of these changes that I mentioned, add this. Essentially, you can make it almost like a Grand Theft Auto Online without microtransactions. You know, I don't know how plausible that is, but I don't know, man. I'm an optimist. It could be cool. That's all I can say on the matter. It could be really cool. But anyway, wrapping up here, I want to touch on the story.
All right, let's do this one last time.
Now, the story section is last because I'm not super confident on writing a story that can be compelling enough. But looking at the story as a whole, we need to make this story longer. Literally, the game was like $70 and I don't feel like it was worth it. You know, don't charge me $70 for a 20-hour game. That shit was lame as hell, especially one that doesn't come readily available with New Game Plus. What the f is that about? But no, man, I don't know. Story-wise, I feel like Miles and Silk, you know, could have like the city on watch. You know, like they're fine. You know, Miles takes Peter's place and Silk takes Miles's place, and the city's fine. You know, crime is like controlled, they're kicking everybody's ass, whatever. But that is until Green Goblin shows up. Now, Green Goblin's supposed to be like the Spider-Man villain, you feel me? Now, I want them, and I'm just like speculating and like, you know, having ideas, whatever, but I feel like, what if Green Goblin is so much of a threat, Peter has to come out of his advisory role? Like, I genuinely want Green Goblin to beat the brakes off of Miles and Silk.
I'm like, what do you say f me for?
And they're like, holy shit, we can't do this. Hey Pete, you feel me? And like I said, this would really show how much Peter needed the break. Again, Peter wasn't nerfed, he was just tired, you know? So I feel like this would really show the value of Peter taking that break, to really shut everybody up about that. Because I don't know, that whole idea really just pissed me off, because like you motherfuckers aren't paying attention to subtext or even just text, you know? But I don't know. Obviously, I'm not expecting all that to make it in the game. I don't feel like it's too big of an ask though, so I don't know. But as a fan of this series, I just want what's best for it and its success, you know? And hey, you may not agree with all my points, but
this shit means something to me, man.
Yeah, I'm always saying that I'm up too late. Don't speak in the room when I'm on my own. Tell me, all my choices untouched by fate. Will I reach a limb that can go on and keep running? No, I don't want